Most people think female pleasure is physical, technique, timing, chemistry. But psychology tells a different story. A woman's path to orgasm often begins in the mind long before it reaches the body. By the end of this, you'll understand why scent can spark love, why attention can be more arousing than touch, why emotional safety changes everything, and why female pleasure is far more psychological than most people realize. Let's start with something simple but powerful. Attraction is not random. It is biological, emotional, and deeply sensory. One fascinating finding revealed that when a woman genuinely enjoys her partner's natural scent, her likelihood of falling in love increases dramatically. Scent bypasses logic. It travels directly to the brain's emotional centers, particularly areas linked to memory and bonding. Have you ever noticed how a certain smell can instantly transport you back in time? That same mechanism influences romantic attachment. When a partner's scent feels comforting or exciting, the brain associates that person with safety and reward. Love, in part, is chemistry interpreted as meaning. Now, here's where it gets interesting. Many women report that during intimacy, they're not fully present. A significant number admit they worry about how their body looks, how they are performing, or whether they are being judged. When the brain shifts into evaluation mode, arousal decreases. Anxiety and desire compete in the same mental space. Pleasure requires psychological permission. When a woman feels emotionally safe, accepted, and desired without scrutiny, her nervous system relaxes, blood flow increases, sensation intensifies. The body follows the mind. So the question becomes, are you creating safety or are you unknowingly creating pressure? This leads to another misunderstood truth. Ovulation can significantly increase desire and attraction. From an evolutionary perspective, this makes sense. During peak fertility, the brain subtly heightens arousal and risk-taking behaviors. Attraction may intensify, confidence can rise, even preferences can temporarily shift. Yet many partners never notice these patterns. They miss the subtle cues, the increased flirtation, the heightened sensitivity, the playful energy. Psychology teaches us that awareness deepens connection. Paying attention to natural cycles is not manipulation, it is attunement. And attunement is one of the most powerful aphrodisiacs. Now, consider this surprising dynamic. Women often find men more attractive when other women show interest in them. This phenomenon is rooted in social proof and natural selection. If others value something, the brain assumes it holds value. It's subtle, it's unconscious, but it works. Have you ever suddenly noticed someone more once you saw others noticing them? The brain constantly scans for cues of desirability. Perceived competition can amplify attraction, not because of insecurity, but because of evolutionary efficiency. The mind looks for evidence of quality. But attraction is only one layer. Emotional complexity runs much deeper. For many women, especially as they mature, pleasure becomes less about novelty and more about emotional alignment. In their 40s and beyond, sexual fulfillment often becomes intertwined with intelligence, stability, and emotional balance. Physical attraction still matters, but psychological compatibility begins to outweigh surface traits. Why? Because long-term bonding activates different reward systems than short-term desire. The brain starts prioritizing trust over thrill, depth over drama. And this is where communication becomes critical. When a woman expresses distress, ambiguity can damage attraction. If emotional needs are dismissed or met with confusion, the connection weakens. Being heard by name, being acknowledged directly, strengthens bonding. Research shows that addressing someone personally increases trust and relational closeness. Names signal recognition. Recognition signals value. Value fuels desire. Now, let's talk about orgasm itself. There is no single type of female orgasm in a rigid sense. Female orgasm is an umbrella term. It can occur through clitoral stimulation, vaginal stimulation, cervical stimulation, or a combination. Some women experience orgasm through stimulation of other erogenous areas entirely. The clitoris contains thousands of nerve endings and extends internally beyond what is visible. Direct or indirect stimulation can lead to intense climactic experiences. For some women, vaginal stimulation alone may not consistently produce orgasm. For others, it can result in a deep, full-bodied sensation that feels expansive rather than localized. The anterior fornix, sometimes referred to as the A spot, located on the front vaginal wall, has been associated in some research with increased lubrication and intense arousal when stimulated. But here's the crucial insight. Technique matters less than presence. If the mind feels distracted, unsafe, or disconnected, even perfect physical stimulation may not lead to climax. Conversely, when psychological arousal is strong, the body can respond more easily. So ask yourself, are you stimulating the body while ignoring the mind? Psychological stimulation can include anticipation, verbal affirmation, scent, tone of voice, eye contact, and emotional reassurance. Even something as simple as slowing down during foreplay, using sensory enhancers like warming creams, or focusing attention on neglected areas can heighten the experience. Pleasure builds through layers: attention, anticipation, emotional connection, physical stimulation. When these align, orgasm becomes more accessible. But there are also social realities we cannot ignore. Some women admit to accepting dates for benefits like free meals. At first glance, this may seem transactional, but psychologically, it reflects the complex interplay between social expectation, opportunity, and individual motivation. Human behavior is rarely one-dimensional. Similarly, research suggests that a notable percentage of women contemplate infidelity if guaranteed no consequences. This does not mean commitment is fragile. It means human desire is influenced by novelty, validation, and unmet emotional needs. Trust, therefore, becomes foundational. Without trust, attraction becomes unstable. With trust, vulnerability deepens, and vulnerability intensifies pleasure. Here's another layer most people overlook. Unresolved childhood experiences can shape adult intimacy patterns. Research shows that individuals with untreated childhood trauma are more likely to support harsh disciplinary methods in parenting. Early relational models affect how safety, authority, and connection are perceived. The same applies to romantic intimacy. If someone learned early that love is unpredictable or conditional, their adult relationships may reflect heightened anxiety or emotional distancing. This can directly influence sexual expression and comfort. Understanding this is not about labeling, it is about compassion. When emotional history is acknowledged rather than ignored, intimacy becomes more conscious. Now, consider nonverbal communication. A woman's body language often communicates arousal or discomfort before words do. Shifts in breathing, changes in eye contact, subtle movements. Sensitivity to these cues demonstrates attunement. Attunement builds trust. Trust builds surrender. Surrender allows pleasure to deepen. And as preferences evolve with age, flexibility becomes essential. Some women report changes in preferred positions or stimulation styles over time. Hormonal shifts, life experience, and emotional maturity all influence desire. Rigid expectations create frustration. Adaptability creates connection. At its core, female pleasure is not a technical puzzle. It is a psychological landscape. Self-esteem plays a central role. When a woman feels confident in her body, when she feels chosen rather than compared, when she feels emotionally prioritized, arousal naturally increases. Self-love amplifies responsiveness. Emotional balance enhances intensity. And perhaps the most overlooked truth of all is this: orgasm is not solely a physical event. It is a neurological crescendo involving the brain's reward system, stress regulation, and emotional circuitry. When psychological barriers are lowered, the body responds more fully. When emotional connection is deep, physical sensation becomes amplified.
So instead of asking what technique works best, a more powerful question might be what makes her feel safe, desired, and understood? Because pleasure is rarely about mechanics alone. It is about meaning. It is about feeling chosen. It is about emotional presence. And when those elements align, intimacy transcends the physical. It becomes bonding. It becomes memory. It becomes attachment. The most profound experiences are not just climactic, they are connective. Take a moment to reflect. How often do people focus on performance rather than presence, on outcome rather than understanding? When we shift from trying to impress to trying to connect, everything changes. Female pleasure, at its deepest level, is about integration, mind and body, emotion and sensation, trust and desire. Honor individuality, pay attention to subtle cues, communicate clearly, adapt with empathy, and remember that psychological stimulation often opens doors that physical stimulation alone cannot. When we understand the emotional architecture behind desire, intimacy stops being mysterious. It becomes intentional. And intention is powerful. If this perspective challenged or expanded your understanding, reflect on how you approach connection in your own relationships. Share your thoughts, continue the conversation, and stay curious about the psychology that shapes the most intimate parts of human experience. Because when we understand the mind, we transform the experience.